Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be using these tools to go through and do a valve adjustment on the 308. So we're going to go through and figure out which valves have the proper clearance, which ones do not, go through, adjust them. We're also going to get the back valve cover back on the car, and then next time we're going to have to go through and do the rear one. So that's what we're going to do today. Sit back, grab yourself a nice beverage, and enjoy the show. Hey guys, so today we're going to be working on trying to get the valves adjusted on the 308. So valve adjustments are a critical thing. If their tolerances are too tight, you can end up burning a valve, having less compression. If they're too loose, then when the valve goes to close, it's going to slam into the valve seat and you can damage the head or you can damage the valve. So we got to go through and adjust all the valves, make sure they're good to go because we have no history on the last time these were done. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get all this back off. The cam cover was just sitting here just to keep anything from getting in the engine while we weren't working on it. I'm going to pull all this off, get to the valves, and then we're going to start rotating the engine around to try to go through and check all the tolerances on here. Okay, so where we last left this, the engine was locked at top dead center by having the car in 5th gear with the parking brake on. All of our timing marks were left with cylinder 1 and 4 being set at top dead center, the cams locked in place. So what we're going to have to do in order to check the valve clearances is they need to be checked with the cam lobes pointing away, completely away from the actual valve shim. So we're going to go through, we're going to unlock the engine, so we're going to take it out of gear and get it in neutral, get a 36mm socket onto the crank, turn it over so that these lobes are pointing away, and go through and check the tolerances on each of these. Now what we should be looking to see on the intake side is something between 0.2 and 0.25 millimeters, and on the exhaust side 0.3 and 0.35. The exhaust side has a bigger gap because the exhaust valves actually get hotter, so they're going to expand more. So let's get this thing all set up in a position to start checking these tolerances. We're going to start writing down all the numbers and determine what shims we need to end up using to get this thing all within specification. Okay guys, so the first one we're going to check is this exhaust one. We got this one with the lobe pointing away by turning our ratchet here on the crank on that 36mm bolt. Now, the first one we want to check is to make sure that there's no binding. So in this position, we should be able to actually turn our shim bucket and see that we can move it around. So there is free play, so our valves are not insanely tight, so that's good. So now we want to go through and take a look at our shim, at our ability to measure this here, and we're looking at, we want between 0.3 and 0.35. So what we're looking at is we want to be using these 3 feeler gauges. So 0.3 should fit, 0.33 should fit, 0.4 should not. So let us see what we get. So 0.3 fits, a little bit of resistance, but it feels really good. 0.33 fits, it's tighter. We have 0.356. This 0.356 fit. 0.356 does not. So this one is right there, right between 0.33 and 0.35. This one is this exhaust valve is absolutely perfect. So let's now go on and check the rest of the exhaust valves on this side and see what we get, and we're going to come back and then look at what we get on the intake side. Okay guys, you can see we went through and checked all the clearances on the exhaust valves on the back bank of the 308. We get 0.33, 0.25, 0.33, and 0.30. We're supposed to be between 0.30 and 0.35. So 3 out of the 4 are in spec. We're going to have to go through on this one and change out the shim. So I'll show you how to do that, but before we do that, we're going to go through and check all the intake valves and decide what we need to change after we do that. So let's go check those intake valves. Alright everybody, so you can see we've gone through and checked the clearances in all of our valves. You can see on the exhaust side, only one of them was out. On the intake side, we had only one of them in. These 3 were too tight. Now my thinnest feeler gauge only goes down to the 0.2 millimeter, so these could be 0.15 or they could be slightly even tighter than that. So we're going to go through and try to adjust, put new shims in, check them, and see if they're in tolerance then, or if we have to go a little bit even thinner. So now we're going to go through, try to take some of these shims out, and let you guys see how we do that. Alright, so we're going to start with this valve because it's already in the right position. So we want the load taken off, just like when we were checking it. And we have this special tool from Hill Engineering that's designed to come underneath and be able to press the bucket down. And then there's a hook we can put in place on the side to hold the shim bucket down while we take the shim out. So let's go through and we'll try to use the tool to do this. Alright guys, so as a recap, we initially found on the exhaust side on the back bank, all of them were in spec except for this one. We adjusted that one and now it's 0.33, matches up with the rest. On the intake side, we only found one of them in spec, this one. The rest of them were too tight, so now they're all at 0.02, 0.25, 0.2, 0.025. So the back bank is perfect. We're going to have to go through now, pull the cam cover back off on the front bank and do the same thing all over again. So we'll just cue a montage and let you watch. Okay guys, you saw us just go through and check the back, the front bank on the 308 here. We saw that the intake was perfect on this side. All of them 0.2 millimeters exactly in spec. We saw 3 out of the 4 were actually in spec, 0.3, 0.33, 0.3. And then this one was actually too loose by 0.05. We put a slightly thicker shim in there, we're at 0.33. So now we can see, if you look at all of our valves, we've gotten everything to be within spec. So now what we're going to do, we're going to go through, turn the engine over one more time, line up all the timing marks, just make sure everything's within time, and then we're going to start cleaning up the cylinder heads and the cam covers so that it can seal everything back up and get the engine back together. So what we can see, if we look down in here, that we can see our timing marks are still set. Flywheel. And that our timing marks are still good on both cams here. And they're also good back here. So everything's in time, all the valves are adjusted. We can start cleaning up, getting the valve covers ready to put back on the car. Okay, so we're going to start cleaning up the top of the motor here to get our new gaskets on. I covered up all the inside here, all the cams and everything else, because I don't want to get any debris in here, but we need to get all this old gasket material off. Now you don't want to be using anything too sharp because you don't want to mar the mating surface. So these are plastic razor blades, and they work really well for removing old gaskets. So we're just going to use that to come behind here and just start cleaning up the surface. Okay guys, we did a lot of scraping and cleaning off camera there because nobody wants to sit here forever and watch me scrape all the old gasket off and clean all this up. So it's all been scraped off. Everything's been blown out with compressed air. The surface has all been cleaned with brake clean. We've done the same thing with the valve cover itself. So now we're going to put the valve cover gasket on. There's some places where we're going to have to use some RTV in the corners. That's where we have sealing that absolutely needs RTV in order to seal. So we'll do that, and then we will get it all put together. Okay, so we've got our gasket all in place. It had to be trimmed around all the openings because it comes all as one piece. And then what we'll see is, and there's a few places we need to come by and put RTV on this. So in all of these little corners, you'll see over here by the seals, we're going to put some RTV on there. Get this thing all buttoned up. Okay guys, we got the valve cover sitting on here. We've got some of the nuts started. We need to go around and just torque all these down. I'm going to leave the bracket off for this for now because I need to go through and clean all that up and clean this up a little bit better too so it looks all nice. But I do want to get everything torqued down. That way it's going to seal nicely with the RTV. And we'll get started doing that right now. Alright, I decided to clean the bracket up off camera a little bit so we can tighten all this down. Just get this valve cover buttoned up, and then all we have left is the back one to get into place and cleaned up.
guys, you can see that we've got all the valves adjusted today. We've got this back cam cover back on, which is the easiest one of the two. We're going to be having to do this back cam cover as our next job. And then after all the cam covers are on, we've got a lot of hoses and lines to go through here and replace. But until next time, please feel free to share the video, like, subscribe, comment down below. If you like the merchandise, feel free to shop on the merchandise store. There's a link down in the bottom of the description down there. So until next time, have a great day, and I will see you again soon. Bye.